You're listening to Soundside. I'm Libby Denkman. It's the start of another work week, the last full one before the holiday season really begins. Are you feeling the pressure to get as much done as possible? I sure am. So let me ask you, Casey Martin's here. He's going to be here for the next story. What's your caffeine situation like on a daily morning basis? Casey, are you a caffeine person?
Oh, absolutely. It's straight black coffee, drip coffee from the newsroom, green room, and I just mainline that stuff. It's all morning long, one cup after another. And they keep it pretty strong.
It is.
They keep us pretty jumpy.
Strong. Yeah. That is, it fuels us. It's like rocket fuel.
Yeah.
Sometimes with guests coming in, I like to say, are you sure you want the coffee? Yeah. Because this isn't normal coffee.
You want to act like us?
Yeah, exactly. Newsroom coffee.
Exactly.
Well, I ask about your caffeine situation because Unionized Starbucks workers have started their 4th day on strike in Seattle. A few locations hosted picket lines. Here's a bit of what that sounded like on Thursday, the day the strike kicked off.
What do we want? Contract! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Contract! When do we want it? Now! If we don't get it, shut it down! If we don't get it, shut it down!
So workers walked off the job in over 40 cities in what the union has called the Red Cup Rebellion. That's a reference to Red Cup Day, one of Starbucks' busiest days of the year. For several of the past few years, it's also been the day that workers have left the coffee counter for picket lines. And this year's strike has gotten attention from high-profile politicians. Both Seattle and New York's mayors-elect have called on customers to boycott the coffee chain. Last week, Senator Patty Murray urged Starbucks to cut a deal with the union. So what's holding up negotiations? Reporter Casey Martin is covering this for KUOW, and he's here with me with more. Casey, thanks for being in studio.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So you were out covering this on Thursday at the U District location right down the street from us. What did the strike look like, and what's been the impact of it so far?
Yeah, as is the weather right now, it was cold and drizzly outside, a lot of rain coming down. But that didn't stop a lot of Starbucks workers who were at the Ave location coming outside. They were picketing, they were waving signs, a lot of audio that you just heard. And, as you said, this was meant to coincide with one of the company's busiest days of the year, their holiday Red Cup Day. And I've talked to workers who said typically that day is absolute chaos. It's very, very demanding for them. So they really wanted to accentuate that this work is essential and that this is what they do. And if you walk by the Ave right now, I just walked past it, bar stools are up on the table, the doors are locked, and the cafe is closed. Baristas have told me that they didn't even open up the store. They didn't walk out. They just did not open the store.
Oh, it wasn't a walk-off then. It was just a keep the door closed.
Keep the door closed.
Okay.
We're not even firing up the coffee machines. Exactly. And that's still happening right now. That store is closed right now. And, as we heard, there were chants. A lot of people made signs. As people were driving by, they were honking in support. Also, mutual aid folks, they brought food. They brought coffee, not from Starbucks, but different coffee. And, there's been about 1,000 people in 40 different cities, the union says. And in the Seattle area, there are 3 cafes that are sticking to the strike. There's that Ave location that I visited. There's also one in Inner Bay on Elliott Ave, and there's a Redmond retail location as well.
That Inner Bay on Elliott Ave used to be my stop when I lived in Magnolia on the way into the station I worked at, so I have a connection with that one. It was one of the few things open early enough when I did morning radio. You spoke with organizer Emma Cox, Casey. They work at the Unionized Starbucks on the Ave, and here's what they said about why they're on strike.
I want to see a living wage. I want to be able to live in this city, pay for groceries, go out on Saturday night, because right now I'm just working and sleeping and trying to budget my way through working at Starbucks.
So tell us more about the main issues driving the strike, according to workers.
Yeah, the biggest issue is they would like their first contract. A lot of these stores have voted to unionize, they formed a union, but they really are chipping away at some sort of labor contract with the company. Workers United, they would want pay increases, they want raises. They didn't specify exactly how, what that looks like. I think it varies from store to store, but overall they would like more money and improved staffing. A lot of them highlighted that they feel understaffed already and they would like to see more bodies behind the counter. They also want to settle charges of unfair labor practices. Starbucks has been hit with these kinds of charges before for union busting, tactics like closing stores that voted to unionize or not scheduling people like Emma Cox who organizing the unions.
And I understand that Starbucks is blaming the union for a delay in signing a contract. These negotiations, as you said, have been going on for some time. What did the company say?
Yeah, the company is clear that, they're saying this is the union's problem. They say that, they've tried to negotiate negotiate and that it was the union that walked away from negotiations, has not been at the bargaining table. The union maintains that they didn't walk away, they just rejected the first offer that came from Starbucks. The company says that the union represents a small percentage of the workforce, about 4%, and an even smaller percentage authorized to strike. A spokesperson told me that overall, employees that work at Starbucks are very happy. They point to low turnover numbers, and they get a lot of job applications every year, about 1 million job applications to work at those cafes.
So this is not the first time workers have struck on Red Cup Day. I mentioned it's kind of become a tradition. They did so in 2022 and 2023. And across the nation, only about 65 locations are on strike right now, Casey. It is, of course, a very small minority of workers, as you mentioned, the company pointed out. Is there something different about this strike this year?
Union members who are on strike, they say that this does feel different because they say that they got very close late last year to reaching a contract. That both sides were actually at the table, hammering out some details. They're hoping that this collective action will mean the difference, that it will be different than previous strikes. And as you mentioned at the top of this, that they have gained a lot of political momentum, support from Washington City Senator Patty Murray, Mayor-elect Katie Wilson in Seattle, and Zohran Mamdani in New York, who are big names in progressive politics, especially supporting labor in strikes like this.
Yeah, I saw Zohran and Katie both basically saying, I'm not going to be buying Starbucks while this is going on, and I don't think you should either. I am curious if they typically are Starbucks customers or, if that's just a talking point. But, they are throwing their weight at this new progressive wave in a couple of big cities with a lot of Starbucks behind this union effort. So what were the results of the past strikes, Casey, and why do you think they keep happening?
There's differing views on that, and there were mixed results. Some cafes that, were trying to unionize, they ended up being closed. And the Starbucks will say that was for, lack of business, or maybe there's some security concerns. The union felt that was a form of union busting. Some cafes felt that that strike helped them initially organize a union, kind of call attention to that they're not so happy working behind the counter and that they would like a little bit, higher pay, better treatment, more staffing. Others say that not enough baristas joined in that first time, but this one does feel bigger and it's getting more attention.
I want to play one more clip. Here's Emma Cox again, the barista and union organizer. Here's what they said about how long workers might be on strike.
I can't speak to how long it'll be, but we're going to do our damn best. We're going to try to be out here fighting as hard as we can until we get that contract, because we're ready for that contract.
So as I mentioned, it's day 4 so far. What else are you hearing, Casey, about how long workers are actually prepared to stay on strike?
Yeah, they're clear that this strike is quote unquote open-ended and they're ready to picket for as long as it takes. Like I said, the Ave location is closed right now. I know that there's going to be a picket line at the Inner Bay location, so no coffee tomorrow. Sorry for you if you're going in that area. And, that might be different at different cafes. Each location is a little different, but the tone at the Ave location is that they're in this for the long haul.
Anything else before we go, Casey?
I haven't heard back yet from Starbucks corporate about the Seattle Mayor-elect Katie Wilson, being at that rally, encouraging people to not cross a picket line, encouraging people to boycott, a local iconic brand, a brand that's synonymous with the city of Seattle. And I think that's, it's a big win for the union. But beyond the strike, I'm really curious to see how this incoming mayor is going to work with a big local employer going forward.
That's KUOW's very own Casey Martin talking with us about the Starbucks Workers United strike, which includes dozens, 65 stores nationwide, including 3 in our area, Inner Bay. There's a Redmond location. And, of course, the one in the U District right down the street from KUOW Studios. Casey, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to Soundside. This show is only possible because listeners support us. If you're able to give right now, please check out the show notes for a link to donate. And don't forget, you can listen live on KUOW 94.9 FM Seattle at noon and 8 p.m., Monday through Thursday, or anytime online at KUOW.org.